Hi everyone, it's Ian here from IBI Performance Coaching, and I'm bringing you a 1 minute physical challenge, something that you can do pretty much every day of the week. And it's going to help you with low back pain, core stability. It'll build strength, it'll build mental resilience, it'll build joint integrity, all of these sorts of things. So, hope you enjoy this, and thanks for checking out the video. For the last couple weeks, I've been doing what I could call the perfect push-up, perhaps. That might be a good name for it. And essentially what it is, obviously you're going to do a push-up with absolutely perfect form, and we'll go over what exactly that means. What are the cues for doing the perfect push-up when we get to the demonstration. But it's not just about doing it with the right form and technique. The other part of the perfect push-up is the timing. And this is very important. This is one of the reasons why it makes it so effective. The timing is a total of 1 minute for one push-up. We're only doing one push-up, right? You're going down for 30 seconds. You're pausing for 10 seconds at the bottom of the rep, and then you're coming back up for 20 seconds. So why is this timing great? Well, you are really accentuating the eccentric, the negative portion of the rep by doing it for 30 seconds. You are saving the positive portion for the end, and because that's the most difficult portion of the rep, you have to maintain enough strength to do it. It requires a lot more mental resilience in order to push through it at the end. And the hold is also fantastic. Well, basically, the whole thing kind of feels like a hold, one prolonged hold. The more dynamic your movements become, whether you're moving weight, whether you're moving your body weight, the more dynamic they are, the more opportunity there is to mask weakness in your kinetic chain, in your joints, and things like that. And so by really slowing things down to a crawl, you're able to identify and, in a lot of cases, address the weaknesses in that kinetic chain. So things that I've found are it has helped with lower back pain because it has forced me to strengthen the muscles around my core, and to be more cognizant of how I'm bracing myself. It's helped with shoulder issues. One of the most effective ways to address most joint pain is to find the area that feels like the sticky point and to go sort of over that portion of the range of motion in very slow motion with a light to moderate weight. And so your body weight should work pretty well for that. So by doing this sort of thing every day, you're doing like a scan of your joint health, of your elbow, your shoulder joint health particularly. And there's a mental resilience element to this as well. Depending on your body weight, depending on your current strength level, this could be like a serious challenge. And if that's the case, if you're not able to do it yet, just scale it back a little bit. Go 20 seconds down, hold for 5 seconds, and then go 10 seconds up. So split it something like not quite in half, but close to in half there. But you can also progress it as well, depending on those things. But the goal is, I mean, that mental resilience wise, is to make sure that it's challenging your composure each time you're doing it. And so for me, 1 minute is like, it's not an overwhelming challenge by any means, but it does require me to muster a little bit of my resolve to get through to the end. And that's perfect. Just having to do that only takes a minute, and having to do that regularly on a daily basis is a very, very valuable practice. Okay, so let's get into the demonstration of the technique, and we'll see you on the other side here. Hi everyone. So we're talking about the cues here, and we'll be demonstrating the perfect push-up. Please do it with me when the time comes, if you're in a situation where you're able to do that. Okay, so real quick, push-up cues, how to do the perfect push-up. Obviously, you should be using these cues anytime you're doing a push-up. It is important. You don't want to be doing sloppy push-ups. You'll end up causing yourself more issues than you want, really, if you're doing sloppy push-ups. So, apply these cues to everything, but they're particularly important when we're doing this 1 minute or this perfect push-up, because the whole point is to maintain awareness of all of these cues and make sure that everything's locked in perfectly. Okay, so the first thing that people tend to do incorrectly when they are performing push-ups has to do with their connection between their core and their hips. They allow too much relaxation in the lower back, so you can see how my lower back is sort of slumped down here, or maybe their butt hangs down, this sort of thing. We don't want any of that. Okay? We want one rigid plank from your ankles to your shoulders. So how do we accomplish that? We accomplish it by squeezing the abs and the glutes simultaneously. So your butt and your lower back should not operate on different levels. They should be like this. Okay, so I'm squeezing my butt and my abs here. So as I'm going down, it's one rigid plank, like so. Okay, that is very crucial. All right, the next one has to do with the use of the elbows and the shoulders. This is another place a lot of people make mistakes with their push-ups. Ideally, you want your elbow joint to be bending at 90 degrees as you're going down, and then extending from there. What we don't want is this sort of super over flexed position. So let me see if I demonstrate. So like typically if someone allows their elbows to flare out and they do this sort of thing, we don't really want this position. But if you notice, if I line up correctly here and I have my hands down just below, like sort of around the sternum line, as opposed to up here closer to my shoulder line, I have my hands on my sternum line and I come down. What you'll see is I never need to go past basically a 90-degree bend in my elbows. Okay, so part of it is the line that you create for your hands. Another one is what you do with those elbows. Are you allowing them to separate from your body? In which case, you're putting a lot more strain on your triceps. You're putting a lot more strain on your shoulder. You want to keep those elbows nice and tight and tucked in. And if you're doing it on your palms, basically think about screwing your palms like this towards your pinky, or turning your thumb up. So the look would be something like you set up and then you screw in like this a little bit. Okay, and then you're coming down and pushing up. Okay, so those are the major cues. Now, I also recommend that a lot of people, most people even, do their push-ups on their knuckles. If you have something soft to do it on, that's fine. If you're fine with doing it on your knuckles on a harder surface, good for you. If you don't have access to, or you don't want to do it that way, you could use something like push-up handles. They're not expensive. And the reason for this is it allows more range of motion for the chest. It also allows, you don't have to put as much pressure on the wrist, and especially if you're someone who has a lot of body weight, okay, you can end up causing wrist issues for yourself. Or if you do a lot of push-ups even, right, you can cause a lot of wrist issues for yourself, and then push-ups become less accessible, and we don't necessarily want that. Now, you should be training your wrists in this position, pressing into things, curling things, this kind of stuff. Absolutely, you want to train the forearms, but push-ups aren't the best way to do that. So you do them on your knuckles, you do them in a neutral grip like this. It allows that deeper range of motion, and it's easier on the wrist, and it's actually just more natural, right? It's less natural to push something like this than it is to push it like this. Just try it for yourself and you see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're gonna do this 1 minute push-up. As I said in the intro, We got 30 seconds on the way down, 10-second hold, 20 seconds on the way up. Now, how deep you go is going to be individual, right? The deeper you go, the harder that hold is going to be, presuming you don't go so far down that you are now resting. Obviously, you don't want that. You want tension in the muscle. Don't go all so far down that you lose tension on the muscles, okay? And similarly, you don't want to go so high up on the rep, right? If I spend 80% of my time up in this range of motion, this is not a very challenging range of motion. So you can tailor the challenge to your current strength level based upon how much time you spend in each parts of the range of motion. Okay, I'm going to set the timer here. I actually have the timer set for 1 minute and 5 seconds because 5 seconds to set up and get ready. Okay, but the goal is 1 minute. All right, so I'm going to turn this just slightly so that I can see, and hopefully you can see as well. And let's get set up and give it a try. Okay, nice and tight butt, tight core here. Set up, okay, and down we go for our first 30 seconds. Keep breathing. Maintaining relaxation despite the tension is one of the key points here. Okay, that's 30. Holding. Okay, back up. Okay, so if you did that, congratulations. Well done. If you didn't, hope you give it a try. All right. Okay, so there you have the perfect push-up or the 1 minute push-up. I hope that you did it with me. If you didn't, I encourage you to give it a try sometime. Let me know what you think of this, or if you have any questions down in the comments. This is a methodology that you could probably apply to different kinds of exercises as well. You could do something similar with a pull-up, just in making sure that you are maintaining tension throughout the entire kinetic chain from your toes to the top of your head, because that's a big part of it. It's not just about working the working muscles. It's about keeping the whole unit integrated over the course of an extended single repetition. You could do it with something like a bodyweight squat or like a lunge, single leg. I particularly like doing this sort of thing with something like a skater squat, which is where you are potentially holding on to something for balance, but you could definitely challenge your balance with it as well. And then you're raising your rear leg behind you, almost like a Bulgarian split squat, but you're not resting it on anything. You're just allowing it to float behind you and going down very slow, holding, and then trying to come back up. Very, very challenging, but very rewarding sort of exercise that you can really do anywhere. No equipment needed, and you can do it with some regularity. The goal here is not to push yourself to extreme levels of muscular fatigue. It's not necessarily to develop, to accomplish some sort of hypertrophic adaptation, though for some people that will be the outcome. We're looking here for more the ancillary benefits, the core stability, the mental resilience, the joint integrity, all of those sorts of things. Okay, so hope that you enjoyed it. Please give it a try if you haven't. Work it into your routine, that kind of stuff. And if you like this sort of somewhat creative, somewhat outside the normal the normal status quo of exercise, things that can be done in short amounts of time with little space and little to no equipment, you can check out the programs below. They go on sale regularly. I try to keep them cheap. And they've got a lot of 5-star ratings at this point, over 100 5-star ratings, a lot of good feedback from people. If you're here watching the channel, I appreciate you. If you're one of the people who comments or likes or is subscribed or anything like that, I appreciate you even more. All right, go out there and earn whatever it is that you want in life.